Okay, now we're getting to the meat. What everyone wants to know. How did you two meet?
That's a great question. Do you want to
Wow.
take this?
I love how you both look at each other first before.
I was like, okay, who's gonna say? Do you want me to go?
You're pretty rehearsed
I
at
feel
it
like
now.
yeah, because people ask us now. This ain't our first rodeo. Okay, so we met on Hinge, modern dating. I had never been on Hinge, really ever. I think I had tried it once for like 12 hours when I lived in Kentucky, and then I got scared and then I logged off. So, really, the first time I was pretty much ever on a dating app ever. And then on Hinge, I prayerfully considered, I was like, maybe this is the time. So to preface, the beginning of last year, I was praying about possibly going on a dating app because I'm not meeting people in my circle, even at my church. There's just no one around that I'm seeing as a potential. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, I maybe need to, and the Heart of Dating podcast really opened up my eyes. So, okay, I need to let go of meeting on a dating app is not a good love story. And
Right.
so I was like, okay, I'm going to try this. So I had gone on 2 Christian dating apps at the beginning of last year for a day. And I was praying through it, and the Lord was like, get off of them. And so I was like, all right. So I just deleted them. It was just not the time. So then June of last year, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to get on Hinge. So I was praying about it. And the Lord was like, okay, yeah, I felt good about moving forward with that. So I made a profile, got on. The first week ever, the first person I matched with is Eric.
Oh my gosh.
So literally, like, I know people have been on there for years and they were like, well, I'm glad someone met someone on there because I had heard friends who were solid believers and they'd be like, I met my spouse on Hinge. And I knew stuff about Hinge, that it was for more serious daters and stuff. So we meet on Hinge, but it's so funny. Eric swiped on me first.
Yep.
Eric used to,
Yeah,
can I tell
man.
them
Oh,
what you used to
yeah.
look like? Okay.
Yeah, of
So
course.
Eric used to have long hair and a long beard, like Dumbledore. I call it his Dumbledore hair.
Yes.
That was his photo on Hinge. So I had seen him on there and I didn't swipe on him, but he had swiped on me.
Yep.
And so he was the first person. And I was like, and I almost honestly didn't even respond because I had my camera. So how we first bonded was we both like photography. We're both creative
Mm-hmm.
things. And I had my camera and my profile photo that Harry Chu, shout out to
Shout out
him from
Harry.
Radiant Church. Shout
You.
out Harry. Get him for all of your Hinge photo needs.
Seriously.
And he's going to shoot our wedding and he shot our proposal. So
Yep.
it's
Oh my
truly full
gosh, that's
circle.
amazing. Full
Yeah,
circle.
so funny. So he had responded to that and he was like, oh, woman who like loves Jesus and shoots on Canon, like my camera. And he was like, is it too early to say I'm in love? And I was like super suspicious going on Hinge. And I screenshotted it, I sent it to my friend and I was, this guy love bombing me. He's like, this to me already. So I was like super annoyed going on this.
Oh my
So
gosh.
she was like, I think
Amazing.
it's funny. You should say yes. And I had never gone on like date from a dating app. And I was like, I'm so sketched out. So she had my location. I was close to her house. And so we went to dinner and we had texted a little bit on the app. And then you gave me your number and you were like, hey, you'll have to let me know a couple days that I can take you out.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, cool. So then, and I had no idea what to expect. I say that he reverse catfished me because I didn't like his profile photo. I told my friend, I was like, this would be a good practice date. So then we go on the date and he has his shorter hair and his beard. So I had no idea what to expect. And I was like, oh, I'm like pleasantly attracted to him. So, because I was
That's
expecting the
hilarious.
long hair, all this stuff. And I, well, he loves Jesus. So I'll give it a shot. And what I had learned from the Heart of Dating podcast was date outside your type. That was one
Yep.
thing I had always heard from her because she married someone not like type. And so I was like, well, like he has tattoos, like Eric has longer hair, not the career that I would have thought that I'd marry. So I was like, this man is legit the opposite of what I would think.
Yep.
So I was like, all right, I'll try. Oh, so we went on our first date.
Yep.
We were there for a couple hours and
Hit it off great.
it was really good. They had the same sense of humor.
Yep.
We talked about theology, honestly, most of the time on our first date.
Yeah.
And that went well. And so we planned a second date. So we go on the second date. And so after the second date, like we had gotten coffee, classic Christian first or
Yes.
second date, going on
It's
coffee
smart.
date.
And it's safe.
It is good. I'm like, I love some coffee and I love coffee. So I'm like, that's chill.
Yep.
We had got coffee, then we walked around
Some
a little bit and got
gelato.
gelato. And
Ooh.
then, yeah. And then we, well, I actually like just, not lactose intolerant. I can't eat it right now. But
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, so I started sharing my story.
Yeah.
I'm very open about my past, and as we had talked about earlier, how she is very black and white and very rules based.
And I'm like really quick to judge things.
Yeah.
I'll just be like, okay, cool. This person did this thing. Bye. Done. Because I'm
We're
just
very
so
similar in that way, Britt.
Yes, I'm like very rigid on things where I'm just like, okay, you didn't do it right, you're gone. Because I'm just, to me, I'm so by the book and so black and white. I'm like, clearly this is right and wrong. I don't understand how you don't see this. So anyway, this is context and how I work, and that's most of my dating story too. Is just I didn't date a lot of people because I'm nope, not good enough. The standards were high, but the expectations were still out of the roof. Like so. Anyway,
Yeah, so I was sharing my story, and I had told her about a DUI that I had gotten
like 10 years ago.
Yeah, 7 years ago at that
Back
point.
before you were a believer.
And so that freaked her out.
And that was actually right. It was after that point that I had gone on your podcast.
Yep.
Yes.
Because I listened back to your podcast now a week before this, and I was like, oh yeah, I brought up alcohol a lot on
Yes.
that episode.
I wonder.
It
why.
was fresh in the midst of, because I had been in relationships. Yeah, I had been in relationships before where they had an issue with alcohol. And so I was like, I refuse. I will not date. And that's why it ended it and stuff. I refuse to date someone who has an issue with this. Like, that will not be my marriage. So I was like instantly freaked out about that. You had walked me to my car after, and I told you, I said, I actually just want us to be friends. So I completely friend zoned him after the second date.
Sheesh.
Yeah, I know. So
I'm in hot.
forward, like,
I know. I was like, bye.
So then 2 weeks later, about 2 weeks later.
So after I did that, I was like, okay, I felt the sense of relief. I was like, okay, cool. But as I continued, I was like, and I was talking to friends about it, I was like, I'm actually a lot sadder than I thought I would be, that I like said no. Because a lot of times it's if I say no, that I'm pretty firm on it. Like if I'm broken up with someone, we're broken up, we're not getting back together. Like if I'm not interested, there's a reason that I said no. Like, so I'm like usually very firm. And there was something about it that I was like, I'm just really like disappointed actually. So I had a really good conversation with him, and I was praying about it, and I was talking to people in my community, really solid women that I trusted. And I was like, I don't know if I maybe made snap judgments on this. And I feel like I want to give this guy another chance. And when we were going on dates and everything too, especially the second date, I could hear in my mind, I felt like the Lord was telling me, Brittany, do you trust me? And I thought in my mind, I was like, oh, do I trust him to let this guy go? Okay. So then I was like, cool, I'll let him go.
Oh my gosh. Bye.
I was like, bye. And so then as I got more into my prayer time, the Lord is like, no, like I felt I wanted to continue. There's just for some reason I feel I need to continue. And the Lord's like, Brittany, do you trust me? And I had like journaled everything, which I don't think I've ever showed you actually. Maybe I should at some point. Anyway, maybe at our wedding. But I had felt I needed to follow up and go on another date. So I reached out to him and I was like, hey, I actually think I made some snap judgments based on past relationships. And another thing too is when because I call it the exit interview, when guys, after you go on a date and then if you say no, and then they text you back and they're like, hey, can you tell me what I did wrong? How I can improve? They always say, I want to improve, which I get, but I call it the exit interview. So you texted that and I told you really honestly about why I did. And I told you it was the DUI and stuff. So, and you handled it very well, which also made me question. I was dang, he was very emotionally mature about that.
We love that, Eric.
Shoot. Yeah. So I was like, shoot, he was so nice about it and understanding. Because you were like, I would never want you to feel uncomfortable. I completely understand all this stuff. So you handled it really well. So fast forward, I text you back and I'm like, hey, I've been praying about it and thinking about it. And I actually think I would love to go on another date if you're open to it. I was like, you can have time to think about it. And I think that day you texted me and you're like, yeah, I'd love to go on another date. So, and that's how it got started. That's how it got started.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to ask a little bit about this because I feel like there are people in the Christian community that struggle with this, they come in super hot and they're like, okay, this is what I want. This is what I want. This is what I don't want. And they, like what you talked about, Britt, they X people out very, very soon without seeing the full picture. So Eric, can you talk a little bit about having wisdom in the timing of, everybody has a past. How you bring those things up without it being with grace, but knowing that it's important for you to bring it up so you are being authentic to yourself.
Yeah, I think for me, God's used my story to help other people and encourage other people. I heard somewhere that when you are vocal with your story, the devil can't use that, because you are actively using that for kingdom purposes, when you're sharing your story with others, when you hold stuff in, when you have secret identity, secret sin, that's where Satan's really got his
Mhm.
grasp and his power on you. But so I've always been able to be open and honest with my past because there's freedom in that.
Yeah.
And I feel like so many people can benefit from my story. So I think that it's very important to be open and honest and authentic with
Yeah.
whoever it is that you're dating. I would say that just from my experience, maybe not go full force the first date.
You didn't tell me everything about your story on the first.
No.
That was really the one. That was really.
Yes.
And I think you continue to have conversations about it.
But I think that the biggest thing is being authentic and being yourself, because God's going to bring the person that he wants in your life, no matter what your story is, no matter
Yeah.
what you share with them and when. He's going to work in your life or in their life, in this case, by speaking to Brittany and saying, hey, trust me in this.
Yeah. And I
That's
think
good.
it's the point of not judging them too soon. Because, I mean, you might share it with them and that totally freaks them out. And similar to me, where they go, I can't handle that. But the Lord works on them. So it's just another instance of you can't mess up God's plans.
Right.
And I had always heard that in the season right before I met Eric too. And that was really comforting. And I think I wrote that when I was writing all the things I was hearing from God when we were going on dates. And I just know that I can't mess up God's plan. Because I had heard other couples where she rejected him or he rejected her. It just didn't work out at the time. And then they end up getting married 3 years later kind of deal. Cause so it's just the Lord works and not everyone's love story is the same.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, it's their high school sweethearts. They met when they were 16. They've been married for 20 years.
Right.
That's some people's stories. That's not mine. So that I want that to be in the past, maybe. But that's not my story.
Yeah.
And so I also have to accept, it's I didn't think that I would meet someone on a dating app. I never had been on dating apps. I was like, I do not want that to be my story. I was like, that is for people who X, Y, and Z. And I don't want someone with tattoos. I want to date. My type was I want clean cut, professional, doctor, lawyer, engineer.
Finance.
6'5" wise finance.
Oh my gosh, that is
you do have the eyes though, and you're 6 foot, so
they are keeping so many people single right now. That 6'5" finance blew up.
No, literally. And they talked about that on the Heart of Dating. They talk about FOBO, the fear of a better option, which I think is hilarious. And I think that is really detrimental to so many people. And that was me. I'm such a maximizer. That's what I call myself when I would go on dates, because being on dates and I would look at their flaws because I'm a perfectionist. Or I struggle with perfection. I'm not a perfectionist. Let's just get my identity straight. But I would look at every little flaw and be like, okay, well, can I find someone better? They don't have this. So it's no, it's a pride issue where I keep thinking that I can level up. And that's not what marriage is though. Marriage is, I'm choosing you for all of your flaws. And I love the good parts about you. And I see you moving towards Jesus. And so I'd always looked for perfection and being you have to be all these things because I've earned this, because I've waited so long, because I've done all the right things. So God's going to give it to me. And so that's been something that has really challenged me in our dating. And then now even in our engagement season.
So Eric, I'm going to put you in the hot seat because I think that there are a lot of people around this question I'm going to ask is, when did you know? Because there's so much confusion around that. And every single man has said, I'm curious to see what you say, but it doesn't take as long as people think it does for you to know. Because there are people that are 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years into relationships. They're not married. And I'm like, what are you doing? Clearly are not on the same page. So we talk a little bit about, when did you know, and in your experience, how long do you think it takes for you to really know that that's the person that you want to spend your life with?
Well, I think that dating in this time, I was dating very intentionally and dating with the purpose of finding somebody who I could spend my life with, that was going to help sharpen me and keep helping me pursue my relationship with Jesus. So when we joke about it too, how she had this laundry list of things that she wanted, and me, when I came into our relationship, she asked me multiple times, well, what are you looking for? And I said, I'll know when I see it.
And I feel, I don't want to blanket treatment and be a lot of guys do that. But I feel like I hear that from a lot of men where it's like the gender dynamic of women will have all the laundry list and men I feel like will just be like, I'll know when I know it. What does that even mean?
what I'll say to that is that as I got to know her, I figured out and understood what it is that I was looking for, because the things that she brought to the table were checking off as I was thinking about it, checking off boxes of she is a woman after God's heart. She's someone who wants to serve. She's someone that loves people. And she was checking off all of these boxes that I started to notice that I was looking for. And I would say we had so we didn't officially start dating until 3 months, 90-day period.
Yeah.
We waited.
Kate Tomlin, her 90-day rule challenge that she did, that's what I followed. I said, because I told him, I said, because you DTR'd with me.
Yes.
Maybe a month in.
After the 7th date, which was reasonable, I think.
So it was going to be. So
what are we doing here? Because, that was about a month in.
Which is good. I liked that you were intentional. Because in the past, I felt like I always had to be intentional with guys and be like, cool, like, is this a date? Where are we at? Like,
so
a lot of guys wouldn't step up. And I was like, okay, that you actually, like, were leading in that, but not pressuring me. You weren't like, hey, so are we dating or what? You didn't make it, like, so much pressure.
Right. No, I just wanted to know where she was at.
Yeah.
Because I knew where I was at. I wanted to continue to pursue her and pursue the relationship. And so after that 90-day period, when we became official, I really felt God was leading us towards something more. And then, so I would say probably around the 4-5 month mark is when I was like, I've seen her consistently. Because the other thing about us dating was that we saw each other, I think, a lot more than maybe other people who date. And because of our work schedules and where we lived, we've just been able to see each other a lot more. And because of that, I got to see her more on a day-to-day basis. And see how she reacted, how she responded to things. And the more that I saw that, the more that I was falling in love with who this person was. And so I think it was probably around the 4 or 5 month mark where I was like, you know what? I can definitely see myself being with her for the rest of my life.
That's a tip, ladies. He didn't say years, he said months. So, okay. Moving along.
Looking at you, everybody.
There's a tip in there. There was a nugget of wisdom. So
if you listen close enough, you'll find it.
Literally. So between the dating and the getting engaged season of your relationship, what were some of maybe the boundaries that you put in place that were super important to really kind of keep God at the center? Because I think I've heard from several friends who got engaged and married that it gets tougher to kind of maintain those boundaries the closer you get to marriage, because you're like, we're so close and we already know what's happening and we know we're going to be with this person forever. So how did you keep God at the center? Maybe 1 or 2 boundaries that you put in place that was helpful for y'all?
We definitely started praying together more. And I feel like that honestly helped as a boundary in itself. Physical boundaries too. If you had just prayed together on the couch, like
that doesn't convict you about anything.
That is much more convicting.
Yeah.
You're not going to want to push physical boundaries then. And because I had heard from people, and I think the Christian dating scene and all the sermons on it honestly can feel very overwhelming. Because I had heard everything in between. Of some people are like, you shouldn't even kiss before you're engaged. And other people being, well, it's up to you. There's just such a array. And so I'd even heard people had said, don't pray together when you're dating because that's too emotionally intimate. Yeah, it's too intimate. And so because I remember you talked about doing a Bible study together. And I was like, I don't know, I have to think about it. Because I'd always heard, don't do all these things with your future spouse because you'll get too emotionally involved.
Yeah, I'm just here. I want to lead.
You're trying to be good. And I was just like, I don't know, I have to think.
I love the intentionality. He's like, I'm trying to be a man here and show that there's a plan here and you're interrupting it.
Yeah, exactly.
Super paranoid. But I think once I got over that, and we'd read a book together. We're doing 2 books now in our engagement season that we're reading. We
also did pre-engagement counseling, which I think
cannot recommend enough.
Huge. Because like we've talked about, once you get engaged, a lot of people feel you have to move forward no matter what issues arise, because there's that stigma
You've got a
of
ring.
breaking off the engagement.
Yeah.
And so our goal and our plan was to make sure that we're absolutely prepared as much as we can be before we even get engaged. So that means going to premarital counseling.
Yeah. It's essentially doing premarital before you're going to get engaged.
Right.
That's what pre-engagement
So
is.
that we could work through those issues.
Yeah. And so there was a whole assessment, and you talk through, what are your money habits? Are you a saver versus a spender? What do you want for your sex life? Like, what do you want for your family? How do you want to raise kids? Family boundaries. Like, they go into all the stuff, and you do a whole assessment, and they tell you what you each said and where you didn't align. And then you go for 5 weeks for an hour session, and you talk about all the things. And that was so helpful, because then we can go into engagement season and be like, my yes feels more of a yes now, instead of being, yeah, sure, but also let's talk about all the things now and see, like, actually, if we want to get married and premarital. And not that premarital is bad, but I think pre-engagement is so helpful. I know a couple of friends who are doing it now, and they've loved it too. But it's just good, because it's, especially as believers, you're already being intentional, and you're moving towards marriage. So it's like, if you're at that 9 month, 6 month, whatever it is mark, where you're like, I'm pretty sure we're going to get engaged, and talk about timeline. I think it was so helpful, because let's just bring up all the stuff with a third party therapist who's licensed and knows how to deal with this, and can help us see and work through any of the issues that we have, because that's going to make your first year of marriage a lot easier.
Yeah. Is there anything you would add to that, Eric?
No, I thought that was a very helpful season for us. We are very good at communicating with each other.
Not to brag, but
No, it's just
yeah.
I have been blown away by how great our communication is, and we're very intentional with how we communicate and
Yeah.
making sure we bring everything up that we need to. And I think
Yeah,
that has
that's good.
very much helped us and set us up for success.
Yeah.
But even then, with all of that communicating, we still had things in the pre-engagement that came up that we
Yeah.
just never talked about. And so it was really good to have somebody there to help walk us along
Yeah.
and talk to us about what the engagement season will look like, what the marriage season will look like. And so I would definitely encourage anybody who is thinking about getting engaged to do something like that before they even get engaged.
Yeah. In addition to, like, community.
Yeah.
Like, community, number one. Don't replace community with just your therapist. You should have both.
Yes.
Just to preface.
Yeah. So I feel like I want to wrap up with this, because I feel there are people that are listening like, okay, yeah, that sounds great. Ooh, you both were single, and now you're in a relationship, and now you're engaged to be married. Like, that's awesome, but I'm not there yet. And so I think that there's a lot of things that can be missed, because it's like the focus on, like you said, Britt, like, I'm the last of all my friends that is not married and that's not in that season of their life. So what advice would you give to someone that is waiting on God? And then how can someone wait well in either their view?
Well, like I said in part one, don't waste your wait. So let God prepare you in this season as you are preparing for potentially the next step where you do end up being in a relationship, and make sure that you are in your community, you're building relationships with other people, you are learning from older mentors. I think that is a big thing for me, because at my church, the demographic is a little bit older, but it comes with such wisdom and grace because they have taught me so much through the process. They have given me such wisdom that in relationship that I've learned. And I feel like people our age don't reach out to the older generation
So
for
good.
wisdom
Yeah.
or for help. And I think that is a really big thing.
Yeah. Seek out mentors for sure,
Yes.
because they can help you in your weight.
Yes, they
And
can.
I think surrounding yourself too with, like, people who are in different seasons, whether that's age or marital.
Yeah.
Don't just have friends who are married. Don't just have friends who are single. Have a mix of all of it, because each stage has something to teach the other.
Yes.
And so I think having a mix, you need those single friends who you can encourage each other.
Yeah.
Hey, we're kind of here in it together. But you also need your friends who are in marriage. In my community group in Kentucky, my church there, it was so helpful to have a mix of both in both stages. Some who are married and being, hey, marriage isn't everything. Here's all the stuff. Seeing an honest look at, we fight, we have to deal with this, or we have kids and we, have struggles in these areas. just kind of giving you a realistic view of what's to come.
Yeah.
And I think that helped kind of center me too when I was single, being, oh yeah, life on the other side my life's just not going to instantly be better. It'll be good in a lot of ways, but it's going to be just more complex. Singleness is simple and marriage is complex, which is from the 7 Myths of Singleness by Sam Allberry. I wish I got a commission from him because I've told everyone about this book. I read it so many times. Yeah, it's very good, but it just talks about how singleness is just, you have a more simple schedule. You have more of the time to serve Jesus. And marriage is you're just involving another person. And so there's a lot more complexity to that. And both are very good things, but just very different. So enjoying the season that you're in I look back and I wish I wouldn't have wasted as much time wishing that I was in a different one. Right. Because if it's to come, there's nothing I can do about it. There's simply nothing you can do to make it go faster. You're not doing anything wrong or better than somebody else. It's truly in the Lord's timing and in his will.
Yeah.
It means staying surrendered.
Yeah. Staying
surrendered.
surrendered.
It comes down to.
So to wrap up, what would you tell your single self now? If you had to look back, what is one thing? And I want both of you to answer.
I would tell myself to not be so concerned of the perfect life that you want. Because there is no perfect life. I would tell myself to be open to opportunities, to be open to new people, whether that's dating or friendships, because you just don't know where that's going to lead. Don't be so stuck in this idea of this life that you are wanting to have, because you might miss out on things that God really wants for you.
Yeah.
And God won't let you, but at the same time, there's little micro decisions that you can still miss out on great people. And if the Lord had let me stay in what I thought that I wanted, I wouldn't have met Eric. So just to those out there who are similar to me and have this idea of this is exactly what I want, have dreams, have desires, know what you want, but also hold it loosely and say I can be content, but still have desires. I can still live in the in-between.
Yeah.
Nice. That's good. I think for me, I would probably tell myself to be more emotionally mature sooner.
Love that.
Because learning emotional maturity is a big thing, especially with our generation right now. Clearly, as I've heard from you and from a lot of other women and people, they're just men don't have the emotional maturity, and it's unfortunate, but I think that is something that I definitely wish that I would have had sooner, because it not only would have helped me just in any relationship, but in friendships, relationships with my family as well, because I wouldn't let words hurt me as much.
Yeah.
Because words are very powerful.
So
but you
powerful.
have to understand that people are in their own bubble, in their own circle, and you don't know what they're going through.
Yeah.
And so they could say something to you that you find really offensive, or they could be saying something about your character or who you are, but then they just lost a loved one, or they're going through a divorce, or they have some other health issue that they're going through that they just heard news from.
Yeah.
And so being able to recognize that, I think, is part of emotional maturity, and then giving grace to them, and grace and kindness to them through that interaction really also shows Jesus to them, and allows them to see your heart for them. So I think that's something big for me.
Oh my gosh. I feel like we could go on and on all day. I'm super grateful that you both came on and shared your story. And it's been really cool to watch the stages, because I feel like all the different stages that you're talking about in your relationship, I was in the middle of it. And I remember us having very vivid conversations about the stages of where you were, and when you first told each other you loved each other. And I'm, oh my gosh, I think it's getting serious. And now to see the progression of it's happening, where you are now. I'm so excited, and I truly am learning more and more the more I interact with people that are in that engaged, going to married season, that marriage is ministry. And I'm so excited to see how God uses your union to bless the kingdom, because you're both mission focused, and I think that is so awesome. So we're going to try this again, Britt, because last time we were here, the people couldn't connect with you. So how can the people stay connected with the both of you? You both have exciting things coming up. What are you excited about besides becoming one.
Yeah, I'm no longer off the grid, everybody.
Woo!
It's official. You can now DM me on Instagram. Not my old one. Don't do that one. But my new one is what I'm excited about is I started a photography business,
Yes.
which is super exciting. It's something that I've thought about doing for a long time now. And really, it was actually when we were more seriously dating. And Eric has helped me so much. I honestly probably couldn't have built this business without him. And he knows a lot about it as well. It's really helped me. So it's BH__ photo co is my Instagram handle. I think that's how you say it. I'm doing a lot of sessions to build my portfolio. Some of them at a reduced price. So DM me and talk to me if you want. If you've got engagement photos coming up, family photos. I love doing branding sessions for people. If you're starting a business, if you have a podcast, things like that. If you need branding things, I love to create your vision and learn from you and tailor it to what you want. So
Hmm.
I would love to work with you. So that's something new and exciting that's coming in my season that I'm hoping to build over the next few years on top of my
Yeah.
engineering job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Eric?
Yeah, for me, you can check me out on Instagram, Melodic Horizons, all one word, or you can check out my website, ehathaway.kw.com. That's where
Oh,
you
you
can
got a
check out.
website.
I do, yeah.
I almost have one, I guess, that you're making for me.
Yes, right. Any real estate needs that you got, check that website out. Contact me for more info. I'd love to help you out.
Awesome. Well, I will make sure to put all of this in the show notes so you guys can follow up with them. But I'm excited to continue watching the journey. And this has been a cool full circle moment from
Yeah.
the
So
hurt
sweet.
to not sure about this guy to sure about him to, oh my gosh, I think we're going to get engaged to, oh my gosh, now we're engaged. Oh my gosh, now we're going to get married. So I'm excited to continue to watch the journey, and post marriage, you guys will have to come back and talk about that.
Yeah,
So
we'd love to. That'd be really fun.
yes. Well, thank you for being here with me today. Until next time, y'all. If you're not following me on Spotify, Apple, Rooted_Radiant podcast, love to see you drop it in the comments what you got out of today. Share it with a friend that needs to be encouraged and needs to be reminded that God is still faithful. And I learned this recently. No matter what, if God doesn't bring you a spouse, God is still good. And you need to focus on who God is. And it's not about who is or isn't in your life, because God has to always be number one. Otherwise, He's not going to bring you someone that you're going to make an idol. So until next time, y'all. Love y'all.
See y'all.